Hi everyone, welcome back to my David Lynch series. Today's episode is about the 1997 film Lost Highway. When I saw this film, I put it on my 10 best movies of that year. And though, while I rewatched it recently and didn't like it quite as much as I did then, I still feel that it's one of David Lynch's most consistent movies. Whereas most of his other movies, I find parts of it to be good, parts not so good. This one's pretty consistently good throughout. It was co-scripted by Lynch and Barry Gifford. Barry Gifford wrote the novel that Wild at Heart was adapted from. This movie works a lot better for me. The main character, well, one of them anyway, is played by Bill Pullman. He is a jazz saxophonist named Fred. He works at a nightclub. He's married to a woman named Renee, who's played by Patricia Arquette. The other main character is Pete. He's a 24-year-old auto mechanic, played by Bathazar Getty. And he has a friendly relationship with a gangster type, played by Loggia. His name is Mr. Eddie. And Mr. Eddie has a lady friend named Alice, who is also played by Patricia Arquette. Now, things get crazy very, very quickly in this film. Fred suspects his wife of cheating on him with a guy named Andy. Sleazy, slimy-looking guy played by Massee, hosts, really cool house parties, cocktail parties at his place in Los Angeles, where Fred and Renee also live. Bathazar Getty's character, Pete, he lives at home with his parents. His father's played by Gary Busey, and he works at a garage that's run by Richard Pryor and fixes Mr. Eddie's automobile every once in a while, and is, on good terms with him. So, in the beginning of the picture, Fred, as I said, suspects his wife of cheating on him, and doesn't like Andy very much. And then they start getting these strange packages every single morning, containing a videotape. And the videotape is unlabeled. When they put it in, they see shots of their own house. And eventually, the tapes show shots of the interior of the house, where no cameraman who isn't either of them ought to be. So they call the cops. The cops don't know what to make of it. Things get weirder from there on out. At one point they go to Andy's party, and Fred speaks with a mysterious character who's played by Robert Blake. There's a very fun scene in that movie where Blake, who's this guy who dresses in black and wears white makeup, hands Fred a cell phone and says, "I'm at your house right now. Call your number and I'll answer." Funny scene, and creepy too. Fred just gets more and more uneasy until one morning he wakes up, finds a videotape, and it's a videotape of himself over his wife's mutilated body, and he is subsequently arrested for her murder and sentenced to death and is thrown in prison. He doesn't remember this actually happening. He doesn't know what happened exactly. But when he's in prison, he starts getting headaches, and then at a certain point, there's some sort of transformation occurs. He becomes Pete, or Pete winds up in his cell in place of him. Who knows what actually happened or how it happened, but suddenly Pete is there in his place. Now, the authorities don't know what to do with Pete. They have no idea. And up until this point, we don't know anything about Pete because this is his first appearance in this story. But short of, identifying him as a conspirator in Fred's escape, they decide, well, we might as well let him go. So they do. And Pete goes back to his life, working on cars, seeing his girl Sheila, who's played by Natasha Gregson Wagner, and living at home, and also dealing with Mr. Eddie. Now, the problem, of course, is that Mr. Eddie's lady friend, played by Alice, played by Patricia Arquette, starts to take a shine to Pete and wants to have hotel rendezvous with him, which he really doesn't want to do because Mr. Eddie's very dangerous and has something of a hair-trigger temper. So now the way these storylines converge with each other is really kind of open to interpretation. There isn't any point in which you say, okay, here's where the dream starts, or here's where the fantasy starts, or here's where Fred's insanity starts, because both storylines seem equally real and equally fantastical. They blend into one another in ways that means that there's really no beginning or end to any story or other. Fred has a dream in which he finds a woman in his bed who looks like his wife but isn't really. This could be a reference to the other Patricia Arquette character, Alice. The other Patricia Arquette character of Alice. At the same time, you've got Pete who is wound up in prison, but he doesn't know how he got there, and he doesn't understand what happened to him. And his parents and his girlfriend keep referring to this mysterious night in which something bad happens, but they don't want to say what it is. And they're not going to tell anyone what happened. He doesn't understand either. So the way that and also the mysterious character that Robert Blake plays comes into Pete's storyline at some point, but exactly what sort of influence he has over the events, and whether or not Pete is the real person or Fred is the real person and the other guy is the fantasy, or maybe they're both real. The problem is that there isn't, well, the issue is that there isn't any clear dividing line between what's real and what isn't, or who is, you know, who is what, basically. They all sort of blend together. The beginnings are the ends are the beginning. The storylines kind of merge in and out of each other. I'm probably making it sound more complicated than it actually is, but I found it to be really, really interesting. And very, very creepy and ominous. The sound and the music have a great deal to do with that. And once again, Angelo Badalamenti did the score for the film. And I'd like to also mention the opening credits, which has David Bowie's song Deranged playing over it. Deranged is off of a David Bowie album called Outside, which also provided songs for films like Starship Troopers and Seven. If you remember the ending credits to Seven, they use the David Bowie song, The Heart's Filthy Lesson, which is also on that album. I was anticipating rewatching the movie, of course, Lost Highway, and I was, you know, sort of humming Deranged to myself for days beforehand, and since then, actually. So yeah, I like this movie a lot. It isn't, I don't connect to it emotionally the way I would connect to Fire Walk With Me or even Eraserhead. But yeah, it's a good movie, and certainly bizarre, inexplicable in lots of good ways. And I really like the photography as well, the lighting especially. One of my favorite opening shots is a first shot of Bill Pullman. He takes a drag off of a cigarette in complete darkness. So all you see is his face lit by the glowing tip of his cigarette. Really cool shot. And his house is also very mysterious as well. The windows are very narrow, and there's dark, shadowy corridors where you walk down and you don't know what's happened, and just mysterious things seem to be happening all over the place. It's very, very ominous and creepy, and it's really, really good. So I like this film a great deal. I'd recommend it. Also, one more thing, Jack Nance, the lead character from Eraserhead, also has a small role in this movie. He plays the garage mechanic, one of the mechanics that's working alongside Pete. This was his last screen appearance. He died after shooting this. And not only is it's not just his last David Lynch movie, it's his last credit period. Lost Highway, and if you have seen this movie, would like to make your own video, please feel free to attach it to mine, and I'll add it to the David Lynch playlist, or any other David Lynch movies that I have done or will do. The next one is The Straight Story, which is a 1999 movie with Richard Farnsworth playing a guy who's traveling to another state to visit his brother, but he can't get a driver. He doesn't have a good his eyesight isn't good enough for a driver's license, so he's riding the entire way on his lawnmower. And it's rated G. Very, very big change of pace for David Lynch. So I'll be doing that one next in a few days. I hope you'll tune in for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.